He also has been sued by 4 casinos for passing bad checks, according to court filings obtained by USA Today. And 2 of those casinos, and you cannot make this stuff up, folks, okay? 2 of those casinos where he passed bad checks were Trump properties. Norman Chad. Norman Chad. Welcome to Gambling Mad with Norman Chad. Tragically, I remain Norman Chad. Coming up on the program today, the next head of NASA has gambling on his mind. Stephen A. Smith has NFL collusion on his mind. And everyone at Fox Sports has sex on their mind. Gambling Mad, as always, brought to you by Fritos. Picked fresh off of Central California trees every morning, delivered directly to your local retailer every afternoon. And by the refreshing taste of Fresca. Fritos and Fresca. It's a meal. DraftKings and FanDuel have about 80% of the U.S. sports betting market. They are cash cows. Their top executives don't even speak anymore. They just go, moo, moo. So there's no reason for DraftKings or FanDuel to listen to me. Heck, I last made a sports wager when Ronald Reagan was in the White House. But I would tell them this, and they should listen. If you don't want your palaces of profit to come crashing down, I would do more. I would be very proactive to prevent problem gambling. Problem gambling remains the Achilles heel of the industry. DraftKings and FanDuel have to stop targeting the most vulnerable, those who are addicted, those who are in debt, those who are underage, or the long arm of the law might just span all of their activity. Sure, nearly 40 states now have legalized sports betting, but a backlash could revert some of that promised land in the sports books to scorched earth. A New Jersey woman is suing DraftKings after her husband lost nearly $1 million lured by the company's promotional offers. Congress now is considering the Safe Bet Act, which would restrict gambling advertisements during games and eliminate the supposedly risk-free wager promotions that give you money if your first bet loses. Let's just stop right there with that. If a sportsbook says, bet $100 with us, if you win, you keep the money. If you lose, we'll put another $100 into your account. What should that tell you? They are banking on the fact that you will eventually lose that money and more. They want your business so badly, they're willing to give you a free $100 to start. It's like when you're looking for an apartment and you find that listing that says first month rent free. That should be a red flag. That apartment is not going to be on Madison Avenue. You're lucky if it has running water and a refrigerator. Besides individuals now and the federal government starting to come after the sports books, now the city of Baltimore has spoken. Baltimore? Yeah, Baltimore, largest city in Maryland. Maryland, you may recall, is on the Mount Rushmore of states. Baltimore is suing DraftKings and FanDuel, accusing the companies of engaging in predatory practices by targeting compulsive gamblers. Frankly, I don't think the lawsuit's probably winnable. I think it's largely symbolic. I don't think the city of Baltimore can win this in court, but it's putting the sports books on notice to change their marketing tactics. Perhaps DraftKings and FanDuel simply consider these legal challenges as the cost of doing business and will continue on their merry way to the bank. I hope they don't. We have enough problems out there without destroying families and bankrupting homes via gambling. You know, sometimes in the movies, we get the so-called hooker with a heart, a la Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman. Is it possible off the big screen we could get the sports book with a heart? I'm an idiot. Who am I kidding? That ain't going to happen. Degen's gonna degen. Case number one. President Trump's choice to run NASA is 42-year-old Jared Isaacman. Isaacman is founder of Shift+4 Payments, a payment processor. He is a pilot and a commercial astronaut with close ties to Elon Musk. He also has been sued by 4 casinos for passing bad checks, according to court filings obtained by USA Today. And 2 of those casinos, and you cannot make this stuff up, folks, okay? 2 of those casinos where he passed bad checks were Trump properties. He was sued by Trump Plaza in Atlantic City in 2008, according to Reuters. He was sued by Trump Taj Mahal in Atlantic City in 2009 for passing 4 bad checks totaling $1 million. He later settled with the casino for $650,000. Isaacman also was sued by and settled with Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut in 2010 for another 4 bad checks totaling $1 million. When asked about the bad checks at his Senate confirmation hearing, Isaacman said the legal matters referenced were in fact forms of negotiation and were all resolved promptly. Do we have a laugh track we can throw in there? I love this guy. You bounce a check, and that is, quote unquote, a form of negotiation. Here, let me give you this check that's no good. Now, how much do I owe you that you think you can get from me? That's what we're talking about, this guy. That's how he operates. But in an administration full of serial adulterers and serial sexual harassers and serial crooks and cabinet members who shoot their dog, Jared Isaacman fits right in. Honestly, he's just a minor league offender. All he does is gamble, lose, not pay what he's lost, and then negotiate a smaller number than he owes. You know, if we did that with the national debt, wouldn't we eventually wipe out the national debt? I think he's onto something. Degen's gonna degen. Case number 2. When I was taking gambling classes back as a youngster, there were 2 rules they pounded home. 1, don't borrow money to gamble. And 2, don't leave your kids in the car while you gamble. The Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board routinely places individuals on its so-called involuntary exclusion list, a fancy way to say you are banned from gambling within the state. Recently, 4 men who left children unattended in vehicles while gambling were added to this blacklist. One man did it twice, first leaving a 3-year-old and a 12-year-old in a vehicle at Rivers Casino, Philadelphia, parking lot, while gambling for 9 minutes. He then did the same thing at the same casino again, this time abandoning 2 14-year-olds for 10 minutes. Another parent left 3 children, ages 8, 11, and 13, in a vehicle in the Presque Isle Downs and Casino parking lot in Erie for 10 minutes while visiting the sportsbook. The most egregious case was a man leaving a 2-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 12-year-old in a vehicle at Hollywood Casino at Penn National Racecourse parking garage for 2 hours and 6 minutes. 2 hours and 6 minutes while playing table games. Maybe the 2-year-old needed new shoes, and it took this fella quite a while to get them. You know, on a more positive note, it does make me recall that when I was a kid, like 9, 10, 11 years old, my father used to take me out when he was running his errands. I loved to do that. And, you know, once in a while he would leave me in the car. In fact, I remember what he used to do is we might go to the drugstore and there was a sale on, 6 packs of Coca-Cola. And he'd tell me, I'll be right back. And the sale, though, had a limit of 4. So he'd go in, he'd run back out. He'd have the 4 6-packs of Coca-Cola. He'd put them in the back seat and said, just a moment, I'll be right back, Norman. And then he'd put on sunglasses and a fishing cap, and he'd go back into the drugstore and purchased another 4 6-packs of Coca-Cola. It's just a limit of 4. And then he'd come back out and he'd put them in the back seat and go, I'll just be 1 more minute. And actually, this time he would go into the trunk. He would put on a jacket for another disguise, go back in and buy another 4 6-packs of Coca-Cola. Now, frankly, I don't know if you have to go through all that. Back in that day, there were 3 or 4 registers. He could just go to a different register each time if there's a limit of 4. I don't think anyone really cared. I just thought it was embarrassing. I was embarrassed for him. I was embarrassed for me. I was embarrassed for my family that he would do that. And then, time flies by and things change. And I started doing that as an adult. Except I was even better than him. I had better disguises. Sometimes I would go in with a pronounced limp. And I'd go in, limit of 2, limit of 4, fine. Bang, come back out. Bang, come back out. Bang, come back out. I'm not proud of it. That's my family. We now bring you a new recurring segment, which I believe is self-explanatory. What RFK Jr. does not know. Number 1, most vaccines are safe and effective. Number 2, there is no link between vaccines and autism. Number 3, groping the family babysitter in the kitchen is generally frowned upon. And number 4 this week, on what RFK Jr. does not know, a 14-year heroin habit does not qualify most people to run the Department of Health and Human Services. What RFK Jr. does not know? New regular feature of the program. President Trump continues to herald the closing of the southern border, stopping the flow of illegal aliens into the United States. But sadly, we are targeting the wrong problem and turning a blind eye to the real problem. Let's go over to our gambling mad national map to explore this in more detail. All of our attention is focused here. This is stupid. We need these people to take the jobs the rest of us won't. Who's going to pick the strawberries? Who's going to clean our homes? Who's going to take our orders at Del Taco? Meanwhile, I live in Southern California, near the Pacific Ocean. Every day I see boatloads of illegal Asian immigrants just pulling up on our shores. They come loaded with electronics and calculators and advanced degrees, and they're taking all the good jobs. A lot of them also can play poker, and that affects my bottom line. We need to focus on the border crisis in California. All right, let's take a look at the weather in the Southwest. On Sunday, going to be 212 degrees in Phoenix. It's going to be a hot one. The city will be evacuated. I suggest that all displaced residents make their way over to Southern California and get on those boats and take them back to Asia. Traffic and weather on the 5s all weekend. Back to the desk. ESPN talking head Shannon Sharpe is facing sexual assault allegations. The former NFL star was at Fox Sports for 7 years, co-hosting Undisputed with Skip Bayless, which raises the question, with all the history of sexual harassment and sexual misconduct at Fox News and Fox Sports, how does anyone over there ever have time to produce news and sports programming? Just in the last decade, here is the rap sheet. At Fox News, CEO Roger Ailes was accused of sexual harassment by multiple women. Host Bill O'Reilly settled 5 lawsuits involving sexual misconduct before being dismissed. Anchor Ed Henry was fired after allegations of sexual assault by a producer. Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson both were named in the same lawsuit by a Fox reporter for sexual harassment. At Fox Sports, executive Charlie Dixon faces 2 lawsuits, one for sexual battery and another for sexual assault. Skip Bayless is alleged to offer the hairstylist there $1.5 million for sex. Joy Taylor is named in the same lawsuit and is alleged to have had an intimate relationship with executive Charlie Dixon. And then there is Shannon Sharpe. By the way, $1.5 million for sex? That's got to be the top of the market. No. I think Skip, if he was really going to have the woman, or convince the woman to have relations with him of some type, I think he could have gone away with like 75 grand. 1.5 million? Alleged? We'll see how that works out. Anyway, when I'm watching FS1 or ESPN now, I don't even listen to what anyone is saying anymore. I'm just trying to figure out who is sleeping with who and who is trying to sleep with who. And sometimes I'll even play matchmaker in my head, which is kind of difficult to do when you're watching the NFL draft on ESPN and you're looking at Mel Kiper for 3 straight days. FYI, and this is an important FYI, I am proud of our record here on Gambling Mad with Norman Chad. I have never been accused of sexual misconduct, though some observers claim I foster a toxic, perhaps over-demanding workplace. Hey, I'm low on water here in my mug. Where's the water boy? And how come everybody on staff is a tattooed DEI hire? I am tired of this BS on a stick. Production, if we maybe just cut most of that out and just move on to the next topic, that might help.
Oh yeah, I'll cut that, Norm.
This is what I'm dealing with. Doesn't that sound sarcastic to you? The Kentucky Derby is this weekend. I will not watch it as part of my stance that took too long to manifest, in which I am against any and all use of animals for sports or entertainment purposes. This includes horse racing, rodeo, greyhound racing, dog shows, cockfighting, sled dog racing, bullfighting, polo, fishing, hunting, and even the circus. What you think elephants like bouncing on small platforms for no pay? I understand my position makes me, an animal rights activist, wildlife woke, and the beta of all betas. I don't care. It's the right position. We don't ask them if they want to do what they do. I'm tired of us doing this stuff for human entertainment and human betting needs. Anyway, if I were watching the Kentucky Derby, I would be rooting for the favorite, a California horse by the name of Journalism. Yes, Journalism. Journalism's owner, Aaron Wellman, once was sports editor at the Beverly Hills High School newspaper. He says he always has been a huge fan of journalists and journalism. So I will overlook Mr. Wellman's moneyed roots and Beverly Hills privilege and insistence on perpetuating the horrors of horse racing just this one time and root for journalism from afar, because journalism needs a win. We'll take it wherever we can find one. Generally, I keep family business off the podcast. On occasion, I might mention that I love my wife, Tony. On occasion, I might mention that I really love my pit bull mix, Blue. By the way, Tony thinks Blue is number 1 and she is number 2. This is not true. They are 1 and 1A. Anyway, this week, I feel compelled to briefly acknowledge one disturbing family development. You want to know how dumb my cousin Jerry is? He just paid to get an upgrade on his burial plot at the cemetery to Mountain View. He's going to be 6 feet under. Plus, they bury you, I believe, without your prescription eyeglasses, and he's forking out extra cash for a mountain view? That's all. I wanted that on the record. Just wanted to out Jerry as the dumbest of my flesh and blood. And believe me, that is a very competitive category. Before we wrap up, I'm going to say this one time and one time only. Stephen A. Smith, to use his own words, is a damn disgrace. The ESPN shit talk master, who is already running for president in what must be the eighth sign of the apocalypse, was very upset that Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders was not selected in the NFL draft until the fifth round. So he told us that someone texted him a message that read, "This is a bad look for the NFL. This feels like Colin Kaepernick collusion." And Stephen A. then said that they're absolutely correct. This is page 2 of the Stephen A. Smith playbook. He relays a notion that somebody else has offered out there, so that clears him of culpability of the origin of thought. And then he tells you, maybe it's true. In this case, with zero evidence, he tosses out the idea that 30-plus NFL teams colluded in not drafting Shedeur Sanders. How exactly would that have worked, Stephen A.? A league-wide Zoom call? A Signal texting thread? Adam Schefter passing on information to all 32 GMs? The volume of irresponsible and inflammatory remarks Stephen A. Smith has made the past 20 years on ESPN is remarkable. Of course, he has made tens of millions of dollars because his loud, boorish act is deemed entertaining, so he's not going to shut up now. In fact, in 4 years, he could be in the White House, which definitely would qualify as a damn disgrace. That will do it for another edition of Gambling Mad with Norman Chad. Hope to see you again next time. And remember, if you're going to roll the dice, make sure they're loaded. Once upon a time last century, overpopulation was a major global problem. We were told world population was growing too fast and would lead to water shortages and mass starvation and societal collapse. Heck, the world's most populous nation at the time, China, introduced a one-child policy per family to manage population growth. But now we're being told that low birth rates might lead to societal collapse. Instead of an overpopulation panic, there's an underpopulation panic. Well, which is it? Do we need more humans or less humans? Am I supposed to be Elon Musk or Eunuch McGillicuddy? I'm not in the mood to procreate, but if Donald Trump is offering $5,000 a baby, I could get in the mood. But do we really need more bodies? Balderdash. There are 8 billion people on planet Earth, and as of this morning, 5 billion of them are on the 405 freeway here in Los Angeles. I say we hold at 8 billion and take our chances. Besides, when I die, we'll fall just under 8 billion. Until then, I'm not dropping my pants and impregnating anybody. I won't breed or mate or be put out to stud, and if the government gets anywhere near my 3-pack of Durex extra-ribbed condoms, I will go gambling mad!
Gambling Mad with Norman Chad is written by Norman Chad and ghost-written by Norman Chad. Executive producers are John Scheinberg and Rick Barrio-Dill. Produced by Norman Chad and Rick Barrio-Dill. Our associate producers are Bree Khoury and Asher Friedberg, and edited by Asher Friedberg with studio facilities at 360 Pod Studios, Beverly Hills.